So this episode, Is This What Justice Looks Like? I really liked the title of this because there's no justice in this case. There's no justice for Duran Bailey. Okay. There's no justice for Diane Parker. There's no justice for Blaze. We are now, it's crazy because I'm here talking to you. Blaze texted me, and as I was heading here to record this podcast with you, said it has been 22 years since my arrest, and I'm still dealing with this. And again, we were talking about, like, in the last episode, those little weird things that happened. You know, you guys have the same birthday, same city. I felt like that this was another, like, just fate thing where the day I'm flying, and didn't even put it together, the day I'm flying out to do the podcast was the day that her life changed forever. I could cry when I think about where she is, and you have literally one life, and her life was taken.
You can't just pick up where you left off. You can't go back to being 18. She's like 39 now, I'm guessing. Yeah. There is no amount of money that can give her back what she's lost.
Think about, like, your 20s. It's such a fun time for most people. You know, I'm speaking generally here, but some people went to college. You know, you get turned 20. It's such a fun time. And you think about all of those things that were stolen from her. And beyond that, you know, when she was arrested at the time, she didn't have a job. She was exotic, like amateur exotic dancing here and there. And now she's out, right? And zero life skills. Like, she's never held like, she worked at a pizzeria, like, way back, but zero, like, no skills to put on a resume whatsoever. What's she supposed to do? My understanding is the state has to declare her innocent to, like, wipe those charges. And in talking to Stephen Jackson, who's an attorney, also her childhood friend, we were talking about how because they chose not to try her again, they didn't technically exonerate her. But you wouldn't know that. If you Google Blaze Lovato, she's the 200th exoneration. She even got 200 tattooed on her because she's the 200th wrongful conviction person released. But they didn't technically exonerate her.
She's still dealing with this in civil court. The state mandates a $1.25 million award if she wins.
She's been out since 2018, so it's been 5 years, and it's been very, very slow.
And they're also suing federally as well.
Yes, she's suing, Nevada and then federally. And the state went to the judge and said, and I'm sure, like, Blaze was involved in this, but we want to be heard after the federal trial. And the judge granted that. So what's the issue there? Here's the issue. How many civil federal cases do you think there are? So many. So now she's going to have to wait for that. So even pushing that timeline further back for any sort of relief. And in this episode, I specifically reached out to Blaze and I asked, what are you comfortable, with me saying? Because what she's been through being out, it's a lot. And I wasn't sure how comfortable she would be with me. And she said, everything. Tell the truth, and I will say that she has never guided me. She's never in any story I've done with her. And it has been an absolute just shit show for her since she's been out. And she has told me when we were in Las Vegas together, I would see her when she was out, and she told me she wanted to go back to prison. At least she had a place to live and food. And she told me she just didn't think she could do anything to get herself sent back there.
She's even said herself she's institutionalized.
She is. Yeah. She went in there when she was 18.
But I would like to just state on the record that her lawyer doesn't want her making any public statements. Yes. So anything said on this podcast is our opinion only and hearsay.
I think that's very important to say. Thank you. Because this woman has been through enough as it is. I would never want anything to harm her further. I want her to have a life, I want her to travel. I want her to see things. I want her to, and this is 1,000% my personal opinion, okay? I've kind of expressed this to Blaze, but she got out of prison and jumped immediately into marrying this woman. And my personal opinion is you have to think she didn't really she didn't have normal relationships. You know, she was 8. How did you date when you were 18? Like, even for people that do commit crimes and are convicted, I would like for something to help them so that they don't go back. Like, it's almost like we just throw them out, wrongful conviction or not. It's like, hi, welcome to society. Like, good luck.
Yeah. There are 2 main goals that I have with this project. Ultimately, is helping Blaze personally, and hopefully the state or federal cases will work out in her favor.
But in the meantime,
we want to, raise money for her any way we can with the GoFundMe. Also, the success of the film itself, hopefully. My initial reason for going into this subject, I wanted to write a film about false confessions, and it just kind of veered into her story specifically. But I want to, bring awareness to people who speak to the police without a lawyer, knowing their rights, knowing that they don't have to answer questions, understanding that false confessions do happen to good people, to smart people.
It's hard for people to understand how would I confess to a crime I didn't do? So what did your research?
It goes back to the Reed technique, and it is an actual step-by-step process that they do in interrogations. And like I said, in some states they can lie to even children. So let's say they have a 16-year-old. This old lady was murdered in this home. This actually happened. And they said, we have video of you entering the home. We have your fingerprints on the murder weapon. We have people that saw you there. And he says, you got 2 options. You can either admit that you did this and maybe get a lighter sentence, or they can't promise that, but they'll use tricky wording.
They dance around it.
Or you can continue to lie to me and you might get the death penalty. They don't say, do you want to confess to this? They say those are your 2 options. These are your only 2 options. They don't mention you can still deny it or you could ask for a lawyer. They don't know any of that. So they present them with a false dichotomy, a false choice of 2 options that both involve confessing.
Right.
And they corner them.
Your only options.
Your only options. So that is a very common one, definitely.
Another thing too, is this common? I feel like I've read this or heard it. When they get sometimes these false confessions, it's after 16 hours or very long, just horrible circumstance where someone is under arrest or being questioned by police and the time too sometimes. Does that play into it when you see these false confessions?
They're mentally worn down. I mean, even grown adults, like I said, smart people. There was a false confession that he was eventually cleared from DNA. He had a PhD, and he falsely confessed.
Because I think people are like, it wouldn't happen to me, or these are like, no.
Here could be the most egregious one I think I could possibly think of. This guy was just, he's such a nice kid. He might be 20 years old, so an adult legally. So his father was murdered, and they had the kid in the room. They said, no, I didn't do that. I didn't kill my father or whatever. But he had been drinking that night. And so he said, well, son, your father didn't die right away. In the hospital, we went to go see him, and he woke up for a minute. This is a lie, because they can lie to him. Woke up for a minute and said you did it, and then he died. And the guy was like, oh my God, well, if my dad said that, my dad wouldn't lie about that. My dad wouldn't say that I killed him if I didn't really do it, so I guess I did it.
Maybe I just don't remember.
Maybe I just don't remember.
Right.
They'll talk about, amnesia. They'll talk about the science of amnesia. Some people have amnesia when they do something really bad. They block it out. It's normal. You're not a bad person. We don't want people to think you're a monster, so if you just come clean, people will understand.
Right.
They'll minimize it to them. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, there's some pretty disgusting tactics that I think should be outlawed. I don't think they should be able to lie to people. They can't.
I can't lie to them. Why can they lie to me?
And a lot of countries in Europe and other places of the world, the police can't lie. They can only state true facts. If you have their fingerprints, sure, tell them that, but don't make it up. It's just.
So I'm very thankful that you're looking into false confessions led you to Blaze's case and this movie. There's so much that's in the movie. What do you think I got to see some of where we shot, or not we shot, but where you shot the movie. It's beautiful. What is your favorite part of the movie? Or I can tell you my 2 cents?
Yeah.
I've told you this.
You mean the favorite scene?
Maybe, sure, but I'll tell you what haunts me about the movie is I've told you this, the Kephart character is very good. Yeah. It's very good.
Yeah.
But for you?
Yeah, Josh Brandon plays Bill Kephart, and he looks the part, he acts the part, he's got the attitude down.
When you were looking at this case, was there something like, I have to get this right. I need to spend particular attention to this. Is there a scene that means the most to you?
I would say, the pinnacle of it is the interrogation with the police.
Yeah.
I also am proud of how we depicted the detectives speaking to each other in private prior to going.
I love that too.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm sure that combo happened.
Yes, absolutely. Because of, like I said before, they went to a rest place not to interrogate her. So they already had some preconceived notions. They already had their tunnel vision set.
So I'm going to ask you, and I'll answer too. What is something that you want to leave? We're wrapping up here.
Yep.
What do you want to leave with your movie? And then I'll talk about the podcast. But what do you want to leave people with? Is there a theme? What do you want to leave people with after they see the movie?
First and foremost, right now is helping Blaze. So I want them to learn about her story, be aware of it, help any way that they can, even if it's just sharing on social media, just to let everyone know about her story, and maybe if they can't help, someone else can. But to protect yourself, and as simple as it sounds, don't talk to police. Make sure you get a lawyer. You don't have to let them in your house. You don't have to answer any questions. And that was another thing. I actually let the police into the house. And when Blaze got out of the shower, they were already there and talking. The parents weren't even home. I think people knowing their rights, especially around police, can really help prevent some of these tragedies. If her sister had known, just to don't let the police in, give me your card, and I'll have my lawyer call you. None of that would have happened.
I know. I just think Panaca is such a small town. They're like country people.
Yeah, come on in. We trust you.
Yeah. So for me, I think there's this one quote that when I started working on this case in 2016, Martin Yant was a private investigator that worked on the writ of habeas corpus petition, uncovering things. And he said this thing that kind of haunts me to this day. And I think that's my theme of this story, of this podcast, is you can say that you'll never commit a crime, but that doesn't mean you won't be charged with one. And he said that to me, and I was like, oh my God, because it's so true. And that's exactly what happened to Blaze.
I can't remember who said this one. This is another good one along those lines. It was a lawyer that said, I can follow around anyone for one day and find at least 2 felonies that they committed.
Oh, cool.
Whether it's throwing away mail that came to someone else at your mailbox, all these types of things that you don't even know are federal laws, like gardening. You can mess with, there could be an endangered frog there that you can do so many things and be an actual felon and not even know it.
Right.
That you can never help yourself by talking to police.
I have a question. Do you think if this case was tried today in 2023, do you think she would have been found guilty or innocent?
I think probably innocent because of 2 things. One, that you said that in Nevada, they now have to have more than just a confession.
Right.
They have to have some kind of forensic evidence, but they had none. Also, I think the public's general understanding of DNA, I don't think the luminol tests would have been as impactful, because I think they would have probably been able to explain it a little bit more clearly.
Know. It was wild.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of confusing, but I don't know that I think a judge would want that to be a little bit more clear. That's maybe optimistic, but I do not think she should be found guilty again. What about you?
I think if it was, she's arrested July 20th, 2023, today, Bill Kephardt's involved, Judge Vega's involved, it's Phil Cohn, I think it's going to be a fight. I don't know if she would be found guilty, but I think they were very good at what they did.
Well, at the end of the day, despite police, all that, it does come down to a jury deciding. So, you got to think not just legally, but also the public perceptions of things.
And I think the police idea has changed. Police used to have this halo, and police are, of course, wonderful. It's who we call when we need help, but they used to have this insurmountable halo. They could do no wrong. So I think that has shifted. I think people are aware of wrongful convictions now, but the 2 dicks.
Yeah. I really appreciate you helping with this. It was really, really meant a lot. You've brought so much to the table.
I'm so excited to see the movie. I'm very excited for Blaze to hopefully, and her lawyer, to listen to the podcast. I know we both want what's best for her.